Camille Thorne. The name conjures images of sunshine, smiles, and a chimpanzee. For a brief, dazzling moment, Camille had it all. A sprawling suburban home in Lexington, Kentucky, a wardrobe that would make any fashionista envious, and a level of online fame that most can only dream of. But her claim to fame wasn't lip gloss tutorials or travel vlogs. It was Baxter. Baxter, the chimpanzee she adopted as a 2-year-old, became her entire brand. Camille wasn't just an influencer, she was a chimpfluencer. Her Instagram feed was a meticulously curated scrapbook of their seemingly perfect life. Baxter in tiny overalls, Baxter helping Camille bake cookies, Baxter snuggling with her on the couch during movie night. Every photo was a perfectly lit, saccharine snapshot of domestic bliss, and the internet ate it up. Her follower count exploded. Brands lined up to collaborate. Talk shows came calling. Camille and Baxter were everywhere. People were captivated by this unconventional family, charmed by the notion of a woman raising a chimpanzee as if he were her own child. It was Planet of the Apes, but make it fashion. To her burgeoning fan base, Camille was more than just an exotic pet owner. She was a pioneer, a loving caregiver defying societal norms, blurring the lines between human and animal. But behind the carefully constructed facade of viral videos and adorable photo ops, a different reality was brewing. A reality that her adoring followers either didn't see, or perhaps chose to ignore. Camille treated Baxter like a human child, and I mean literally. He had his own bedroom, decorated with cartoon characters and overflowing with plush toys. He sat at the dinner table, eating with a fork and spoon, albeit messily. She even potty-trained him. Birthday parties were lavish affairs, complete with custom-made cakes adorned with chimpanzee decorations and a gaggle of bewildered-looking children in party hats. "He's not a pet," she'd often declare in interviews, her voice brimming with unwavering conviction. "He's my son." This sentiment resonated deeply with many of her followers. It fueled the narrative that Camille was a compassionate, progressive animal lover, breaking down barriers and challenging traditional notions of family. But for others, it rang alarmingly hollow. The neighbors, for one, weren't exactly thrilled about sharing a fence line with a primate capable of ripping a human limb from limb. Rumors started to circulate, whispers of strange noises emanating from the Thorne residence late at night, guttural howls, the sounds of furniture being overturned. One neighbor claimed to have seen Baxter pacing aggressively along the fence line, his eyes fixed on passersby with an unsettling intensity. Another recounted a terrifying encounter when Baxter allegedly lunged at their dog through the fence, baring his teeth and emitting a chilling screech. Of course, none of this made it into Camille's meticulously crafted online persona. Any hint of Baxter's potential for aggression was swiftly downplayed, brushed aside with a dismissive laugh and a well-placed filter. "Oh, that's just Baxter being a little playful," she'd chirp in response to concerned comments. "He's just a big softy at heart." But the truth was, Baxter was growing. He was becoming stronger, more unpredictable, and increasingly difficult to manage. By the age of 7, he was no longer the small, cuddly chimp that had captured the hearts of millions. He was a powerful, muscular primate with sharp teeth and a wild, untamed spirit lurking beneath the surface. And Camille, blinded by her love and her desire to maintain her carefully constructed image, refused to acknowledge the danger. She convinced herself, and attempted to convince the world, that her love was enough. that her bond with Baxter was unbreakable, that she had somehow managed to domesticate the wildness within him. She plastered over the cracks with designer clothes, gourmet meals, and endless photo ops. But the cracks were widening. The underlying tensions were becoming impossible to ignore. The neighbors grew increasingly wary, the whispers grew louder, and the idyllic world that Camille had so meticulously created was teetering on the brink of collapse. The online darling, the chimpfluencer, was about to discover that some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. And the consequences, well, they would be catastrophic. The fairy tale was about to become a horror story. And it was all about to play out live for the entire world to see. The warning signs weren't subtle whispers. They were booming red flags, flashing neon warnings that Camille, for whatever reason, chose to ignore. Or perhaps, worse, she saw them, acknowledged them, and then, in a dazzling display of cognitive dissonance, convinced herself they were nothing, just quirks, just Baxter being Baxter. The first real crack in the carefully constructed facade of idyllic chimp-human harmony appeared after Baxter reached his 4th birthday. Up until then, any minor scratches or playful nips were easily dismissed as rough foozing, standard fare for a primate raised in a human household. But on Baxter's 4th birthday, during the bouncy house festivities, little Timmy Henderson, from down the street, got a bit too close to Baxter's cake. What followed wasn't a playful swat. Baxter, with a speed and ferocity that shocked everyone, lunged. He didn't just snatch the frosting, he bit Timmy's arm, hard. The screams, the blood, the terrified parents. It was a scene ripped straight from a horror movie, not a children's birthday party. Camille, ever the resourceful social media manager, spun it. A bee sting, she claimed. Timmy was allergic. She'd rushed him inside. Everything was fine. She even posted a picture of Timmy later that day, smiling and holding a balloon. A strategically placed bandage hidden under his sleeve. Allergy scare averted. Thanks for all the well wishes, fam. The caption read, the real story. Timmy needed 6 stitches and therapy to overcome his fear of, well, everything. Then there was the incident with the vacuum cleaner. Baxter hated the vacuum cleaner. Most pets do, sure, but Baxter's hatred was visceral. He wouldn't just run and hide. He would scream, throw things, and generally lose his mind. One afternoon, a cleaning lady, Maria, was vacuuming Baxter's room. Camille was out running errands. Maria, understandably, didn't know just how sensitive Baxter was. She flicked on the machine, and all hell broke loose. Baxter ripped the vacuum cleaner from her hands, tearing the hose and scattering debris everywhere. He then cornered Maria, screaming and pounding his chest, until she locked herself in the bathroom and called 911. When Camille returned, she found Maria huddled on the front porch, visibly shaken. Camille's response: she apologized profusely. Not to Maria, but to the vacuum cleaner company, promising to buy a replacement. She then told her followers that Maria was a drama queen who had startled Baxter. She even filmed a cutesy video of Baxter inspecting the broken vacuum, captioned, "Baxter just wants a clean house. Hashtag chimplife. Hashtag clean freak." Maria never returned, and Camille conveniently forgot to leave a good review for her services. Online, the neighbors, of course, were growing increasingly concerned. They witnessed Baxter's escalating aggression firsthand, the guttural howls echoing late at night, the way he'd slam against the fence when they walked by, the unsettling glint in his eyes. They started crossing the street to avoid walking past Camille's house. They whispered amongst themselves, their unease growing with each incident. One neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, Timmy's mum, even tried to talk to Camille directly. She approached her at the local grocery store, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and concern. "Camille, honey, I know you love Baxter, but he's getting bigger, he's getting stronger, and, well, he bit Timmy." Camille's smile tightened. "Oh, Mrs. Henderson, that was just a little misunderstanding." Timmy startled him. "Baxter's just protective. He drew blood, Camille. He needed stitches. He's like a child, Mrs. Henderson. He needs boundaries, sure, but he just needs love." Camille's voice took on a saccharine tone, the kind she used for her online videos. "I would never do anything to put anyone in danger. Baxter's my family." Mrs. Henderson, defeated, simply shook her head. "He's not a child, Camille. He's a chimpanzee. And one day, he's going to hurt someone badly." Camille's response was a dismissive wave and a hurried exit, leaving Mrs. Henderson standing alone, her groceries forgotten. But perhaps the most telling sign of Camille's denial was her complete disregard for expert advice. Veterinarians, primatologists, even online commenters with a basic understanding of primate behavior. They all warned her. They told her that chimpanzees were incredibly strong, unpredictable, and prone to violent outbursts, especially as they matured. They told her that keeping Baxter in a domestic setting was not only dangerous, but also cruel. Camille, of course, dismissed them all. They were jealous, she claimed. They didn't understand the unique bond she shared with Baxter. They were just haters. She cherry-picked the information that supported her narrative, ignoring the mountains of evidence that contradicted it. She created an echo chamber, surrounding herself with yes-men and sycophants who reinforced her delusions, and so it all culminated in the fateful backyard party. July 9th, 2022. A beautiful summer day, perfect for celebrating her online success. But the party wasn't just a celebration, it was a performance, a final, desperate attempt to prove to the world, and perhaps to herself, that her experiment was working, that she could tame the wild. The guests arrived, the music blared, the champagne flowed. Baxter, dressed in his ridiculous little outfit, seemed agitated. The loud noises, the unfamiliar faces, the constant attention. It was all too much. He paced nervously, his eyes darting around the yard. He fidgeted, he grunted, he showed his teeth. These weren't the playful gestures of a happy pet. These were signs of escalating stress, clear warnings that he was about to snap. But Camille, blinded by her ambition and her delusion, didn't see them. Or, more likely, she chose not to. She was too focused on the cameras, on the likes, on the validation. She was too busy playing the role of the perfect exotic pet owner to notice that her perfect pet was about to become a monster. And then it happened. The music, the flashes, the people, it all became too much. The carefully constructed facade crumbled, revealing the raw, untamed wildness that had been lurking beneath the surface all along. The beast within, Baxter, finally broke free, and Camille, along with everyone else at that party, was about to learn a horrifying lesson about the true nature of nature. It was July 9th, 2022, a date that began with streamers, champagne, and the promise of online glory ended in unimaginable horror. As we mentioned earlier, Camille Thorne's backyard party, meant to celebrate her 100,000 subscribers, became a scene straight out of a nightmare. The music, the flashing cameras, The sheer number of unfamiliar people, it all proved too much for Baxter. The playful chimp her fans adored had reached his breaking point. Witness accounts, police reports, and the chilling remnants of the live stream paint a gruesome picture. As Baxter grabbed and destroyed Camille's phone, the first real sign something was wrong. No one could have predicted the speed and ferocity of what followed. There was no prolonged growl, no drawn-out display of aggression, just an instant brutal explosion. He lunged, the full force of his 140-pound body slammed into Camille, sending her crashing to the patio stones. The screams started immediately. The sickening thud of impact, quickly followed by shrieks of pain and terror, ripped through the festive atmosphere. What had been a celebration turned into a desperate fight for survival. Baxter's teeth, designed for stripping bark and crushing nuts, tore into Camille's flesh. Witnesses describe a scene of unimaginable violence. His initial bite targeted her face, her cheek ripped open, blood gushing down her front. Then his focus shifted to her neck, a primal instinct driving him to sever vital arteries. The screams became gurgles as blood filled Camille's throat. Panic erupted. Guests scattered, some running in blind terror, others frozen in place, their minds unable to comprehend the horrifying spectacle unfolding before them. A few, in a truly macabre twist, even continued filming with their phones, capturing the last agonizing moments of Camille Thorne's life for posterity. These videos, quickly scrubbed from the internet by authorities, would later become key pieces of evidence in the investigation. But they also highlighted a disturbing trend: the desensitization to violence fueled by the online world. One brave guest, amidst the chaos and screams, managed to dial 911. The recording of that frantic call is chilling. Her voice, choked with sobs, barely audible above the screams, recounts the horror in real. He's eating her. The chimp is eating her. Oh my God, there's blood everywhere. Please, someone get here. He won't stop. The sheer desperation in her voice underscores the utter helplessness everyone felt in the face of Baxter's savage attack. Police arrived within 6 minutes, but for Camille Thorne, those 6 minutes were an eternity. The officers were met with a scene that would undoubtedly haunt them for the rest of their lives. Camille lay motionless, her body a mangled mess. Baxter, covered in blood, was still. On top of her, continuing his gruesome assault, bodycam footage from one of the responding officers offers a glimpse into the sheer brutality of the scene. The officer's voice, though professional, betrays the shock and horror he felt. We have a visual. Subject is consuming flesh, trained to handle a wide range of emergencies. These officers found themselves facing a situation far beyond their usual protocols. A fully grown chimpanzee in a state of extreme violence posed a lethal threat. They knew they couldn't wait. For animal control, every second counted. The decision was swift and decisive. Shoot him, one officer commanded. 3 shots rang out, piercing the air. Baxter, his reign of terror finally over, collapsed beside Camille. The backyard, once filled with laughter and music, was now silent, save for the sirens of approaching emergency vehicles. But even in death, the horror lingered. A neighbor, overcome with emotion, cried out they raised him like a baby, and he died like a monster. Her words encapsulate the tragic paradox at the heart of this story: the attempt to humanize a wild animal, and the devastating consequences that followed. Paramedics arrived shortly after, but it was too late. Camille Thorne was pronounced dead at the scene. The official autopsy report detailed the horrific extent of her injuries: massive facial trauma, deep lacerations to her neck, and extensive tissue loss. The coroner noted that the level of violence was unlike anything he had ever witnessed. The aftermath was a whirlwind of media coverage, police investigations, and public outrage. The small town of Lexington was thrust into the national spotlight, grappling with the shock and grief of losing one of its own in such a horrific manner. The investigation quickly focused on the legality and ethics of keeping exotic animals as pets. Animal rights activists seized on the tragedy, demanding stricter regulations and a complete ban on private ownership of primates and other dangerous species. Lawmakers pledged to review existing laws, promising to close loopholes that allowed individuals to acquire and keep animals like Baxter. Online, the debate raged. Some blamed Camille for her naivete, accusing her of recklessly endangering herself and others. They argued that no amount of love could overcome a chimpanzee's inherent wildness. Others defended her intentions, pointing the finger at the exotic pet trade and the exploitation of animals for entertainment and profit. The blame was scattered, but the grief was universal. Baxter's remains were subjected to a thorough examination. While no signs of disease or rabies were found, experts concluded that his aggression was the result of pent-up instincts and a lack of proper socialization. He was a wild animal, confined to a human environment, and the stress and frustration of that unnatural existence ultimately led to his violent outburst. The tragedy of Camille Thorne and Baxter became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the dangers of blurring the lines between the human and animal worlds. It exposed the dark side of the exotic pet trade, the limitations of human control over wild instincts, and the devastating consequences of prioritizing online fame over common sense and public safety. The bloodstained patio, the silence livestream, and the haunting images of Camille and Baxter in happier times serve as a permanent memorial to a dream gone horribly wrong. A dream fueled by love, but ultimately shattered by reality.